Hey, it's me, Aunt Tracy. I'm back, and I'm blonde. I know a lot of you are expecting the second part in the Eddie Lamar series, and I am. I'm working on it. But I've also been putting in a lot of hours down at the dildo mines. And when I get to working on some of the longer research videos, I get sidetracked. And I go off on scripted tangents, and it takes a while for me to get them done. So I had to stop what I'm doing and make another little easy bake video so I can put something out so you don't forget all about your Aunt Tracy. What's today's video going to be all about? Good question. I went back and looked at a few of my old videos and remember Made Feathers Fly? The video where I answered different questions out of a fishbowl? Let's go back to that. So I'll pull questions that I threw into this fishbowl and just answer them randomly. Where do the questions come from? Who knows where thoughts come from? Some of these questions are ideas for videos that I still haven't gotten around to making. Some of them are just thoughts I had during sativa-inspired manic episodes. I think you get the idea. Let's see what the first question will be. That's a condom. Okay, first question. This one's blank. What's it like working in a sexy adult toy store? I can't disclose the goings-on in my shop, but I suppose I could tell you something positive about my general experience. But before I do, just to be on the safe side, now may be a good time to remember to never ever forget the ever applicable and unequivocally official epigram of Aunt Tracy's place. Aunt Tracy is a fictional character. Any similarities between the events described in this video and actual events is probably a fucking coincidence. Or the result of a bad trip, or a glitch in the Matrix, I don't know. Whatever you think sounds plausible. I've worked a lot of retail gigs. I've sold everything from appliances to zucchini. But I'm here to tell you, customers who come in to buy handcuffs and lubrication are always in a much better mood than people who are coming in to buy, like, a new toaster. Oh, I got sex lube all over me. Let's do another question. That one's blank too. That one's nasty. Trans women are women. What does that even mean? It's mostly about gender, I think. What that slogan's getting at is, what's the social role that fits me best? Most people I encounter are going to default to treating me like a woman, whether they know I'm trans or not. Here's an example. A couple of weeks back, this guy was really angry with me. Real aggressive. I picked up a baseball bat. He's like, why do you have that bat? Because I'm frightened of you. Anyway, he was yelling at me. He called me a bitch. Not a jerk, or an idiot, or a slimeball, or a nitwit, or a lowlife, or a scumbag, or a doo-doo head. No, he called me a bitch. A decidedly gendered insult. And then he walked out of my life, only to return again the following day, to ask me if I'd like to go out for a drink sometime. I told him I don't really drink. He was persistent. He's like, well, can I take you out for something to eat? I said, look at me. I don't eat either. He's like, well, what time do you get off? I said, I don't get off. Not with you. I told him, I don't even really exist. I'm just a figment of your imagination, and if you walked outside the building, I would disappear forever. So I ask you ladies out there, does any of this sound familiar? Next question. Are you living in a safe neighborhood? Depends. You can go that way. You can walk a few blocks that way. You can walk that way, but I wouldn't go down that way. And if you do, bring your heater. Let me put it to you this way. Where I used to live, all the Gladys Kravitz alerts on my Spy on Your Neighborhood watch app on my phone used to be like lost dog or runaway chickens. Now it's always, was that fireworks or gunshots? It's never fireworks. So in Missouri, it looks like they're going to ban transgender health care for minors. Thoughts? I already made a whole video, America's Got Transphobia, about the forces of evil behind these bills. And not much has changed, so maybe just go back and watch that one. The one thing I will say today, and I'll say again in the future, gender-affirming healthcare saves lives. It did mine. Have you seen the new Top Gun? I have not. But the original, I can virtually guarantee you I've seen that movie, along with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Blazing Saddles, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, more than any other human who's ever existed on Earth 1218. Bold statement. I know, but can I back that up? Listen, I grew up in the late 1900s. Now, I didn't get to see Top Gun in the theaters during its original release, but I recently did see it in theaters, the way it was meant to be seen, on the big screen, with a belly full of popcorn and psilocybin. That's fine. So yeah, even though I missed it in theaters during the original release, I more than made up for it when it was released on home video. My mom worked in a department store, and sometimes when we'd have the day off school during the week, instead of trying to find a babysitter, she'd just take me to work with her. 2 days I was there during the week that they released Top Gun on home video. And both those days I just sat in the aisle across from the TV displays and watched Top Gun over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know, that's like 16 hours divided by how many times the movie is, so I'd say 698 times probably. I'm going to be discussing a contraption that's probably foreign to viewers younger than a Gen X burnout. Even my wigs turned gray. When I went off to college, my parents gifted me the first VCR our family had ever owned. It was a top loader, so it had this little cartridge we called a video cassette, and it held a reel-to-reel of the film of the movie. You had to take that cartridge and push it down into the VCR to play it and watch the movie. This VCR, it must have weighed 700 pounds. I think it was made of granite. It had a remote control that had only 2 buttons and a cord. To make it go, you had to pedal it. Anyway, this VCR hadn't worked since the late 80s. My mom said if I could get it working, I could just have it. Somebody told me that if the heads get too dusty, it won't play, and maybe that's the problem. So I drug that monstrosity out onto the carport. I put the vacuum cleaner in reverse, and I blew a Tatooine-worthy dust cloud out of that thing. Believe it or not, it worked after that. Then I just threw it in the boxes with my college stuff and went on my way. But somehow during the trip, the little mechanism with the arm, got broken, and the tape wouldn't stay down. No matter how hard you pushed the tape down in there, it would spring back up like some kind of demented jack in the box. Luckily, I had a bunch of textbooks laying around I wasn't using, so I would just set one on top of there to hold the tape into the VCR while I watched the film. The tape. I only owned one tape. It was this extended play blank cassette that I had recorded movies onto. My parents couldn't afford the premium channels, but sometimes the cable company would give you those free weekend previews. So I had recorded Top Gun and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Who Framed Roger Rabbit off of those. And I had the edited version of Blazing Saddles that I recorded off KPLR Channel 11, the local TV station where Voltron was born. So I had those 4 movies on there, plus that episode of Muppet Babies where they sing the Snow White Blues. Snow White Blues, they're giving us the boo-hoo-hoos. Our hearts are really breaking, we wish you would awaken and take away the Snow White Blues. There was a boy in high school I was completely in love with, and Top Gun was his favorite movie. That movie is so gay. He really related to the Tom Cruise character. He had to go Mach 2 with his hair on fire so he wouldn't dwell on these thoughts he was having about his wingman. And I really related to the Kelly McGillis character. I understood why she held something back. Why, even if she saw some real genius in Mavericks flying, she couldn't say it. Because she was afraid the whole world would see right through her. And she just didn't want anyone to know that she'd fallen for him. Feel those vibes. Once one of my friends in the dorm brought over another tape so we could watch it. When I moved the textbook off the top of the VCR, the arm wouldn't come back up. The tape would not eject. It was stuck. We tried everything to get it out. We tried prying it out, explosives. I think maybe a sorcerer put a spell on it and sealed it. So in the end, I didn't have a video cassette recorder so much as I had a machine that played one tape. Yes, I know all the little Top Gun quotable quotes. No, there's two O's in Goose, fellas. Yeehaw, Jester's dead. He went like this, I went like that. I said, Hollywood, where'd he go? Hollywood said, where'd who go? Somebody give me a beer to put out these flames. I want some butts. Goose, you big stud. Take me to bed or lose me forever. Yeehaw, Jester's dead. Time to buzz the tower. Take my breath away. I want some butts. I can't sing. Yeehaw, Jester's dead. That's right, Iceman. I am dangerous. Take my breath away. Jesus, this is terrible. I want some butts. Boy, that anti-trans legislation just keeps on coming, doesn't it? Listen, there's going to be a record number of anti-trans bills introduced in state legislatures this year, and 90% of them have no chance of passing into law. But the ones that do, like the ones that already passed in Alabama and Tennessee, they're going to make the lives of trans people there much more difficult and dangerous, to put it mildly. But even the ones that don't pass, it's hard on your mental health. It's living through stochastic terrorism. The terrorism is the point. They want to make us all afraid to participate in public life. Despite their best efforts, they can't legislate trans people out of existence. But I'm afraid that they're going to try. You can take my high heels when you pry them off my cold, dead feet. Come and get me, I dare you. I feel a great swell of pity for people who come around here looking for trouble. Who's your favorite detective? Not only have I seen every episode of Columbo, I've seen every episode of Columbo enough times to notice when they reuse props from one episode in another episode. That thing with Columbo where the murderer always underestimates him, I feel that. I feel that hard. I sometimes have difficulty getting people to take me seriously. Maybe it's my voice. Maybe it's my gender presentation. Maybe it's the fact that my reusable grocery bags have Disney princesses on them. Columbo goes out of his way to appear benign. He looks ineffective and non-threatening. He seems too disheveled, too disorganized, and too forgetful to pose a threat to the villain who, by contrast, are always portrayed as these upscale, smooth, sophisticated tacticians. I learned a lot watching Columbo mysteries over and over again. It's made me practically impervious to gaslighting. Remember when I was in the bathtub in my sugar daddy video? And I talked about all the channels that teach you how to deal with narcissists? The thing about these channels is they always just tell you to avoid the narcissists. Just avoid them. Just drop them. Just don't even let them into your lives at all. This might be easier said than done. You can't just avoid these situations forever. I don't think everybody who exhibits narcissistic behaviors is a narcissist. We're all capable of it sometimes. The vainglorious villains in Columbo mysteries are classic narcissists. They reside in these huge, bloated, ostentatious homes. Imperious and autocratic, these sneering scofflaws invariably underestimate our steadfast sleuth. They take one look at his rumpled raincoat and beat-up old car and think, I'll simply dazzle the dupable detective with grandiloquent subterfuge. But here's the thing about that. Columbo's indefatigable investigation inevitably enervates their intrepidity, reducing them to an erratically pacing and appreciably agitated agent of ineptitude and incongruity. In other words, Columbo eats narcissistic criminals for breakfast. I try to utilize some of the things I learned in episodes of Columbo when dealing with these folks. For one thing, always take notes.
Gee, you don't have a pencil, do you?
It's always important to take these little mental notes so people can't make you question your version of events. I remember being in this argument with this man, and I was getting upset. So I made a mental note that I was going to temper my voice while I talked to this person. He was walking away from me, so I had to yell after him. I did not yell at him. I stopped and said, "Okay, Tracy, you don't want to come off as hostile in this situation. Be sure and state your position politely but firmly." Later, of course, he told me I was yelling and screaming at him like a harpy. He was adamant that I was out of control. Luckily, I had taken note of my own behavior in the moment. Columbo's resilient. He doesn't let anyone dissuade him from finding the truth. The villain will try to distract Columbo by being cordial, offering up praise or even blatant bribes. But Lieutenant Columbo isn't the type to let a murderer slide just because they're charming. He's not going to sit there in staid silence and ignore the elephant in the room. Columbo's relentless refusal to accept the villain's BS often leads to the murderer letting their guard down and exposing their suppressed rage and volatility. Another thing I learned, always be prepared. Know the kind of person that you're going to be dealing with. Columbo is setting this guy up for a fall here by reaching his cigar beaters into this portfolio and touching the incriminating evidence held within. I'm going to give away the ending to a couple pretty great episodes over the next 2.5 minutes, so spoiler warning, I guess, for a show that's been in reruns since the disco era. Columbo deliberately touched the evidence so as to leave fingerprints, proving this guy is currently in possession of stolen goods, which implicates him as the murderer. Caught dead to rights by fingerprint analysis, the killer tries to keep lying his way out of trouble, accusing Columbo of setting him up.
You put your prints on those paintings.
You did that. You touched it just now. I saw it. Didn't everybody see him touch it just now? Columbo saw this coming. Narcissists are so reliably predictable. It's their big weakness. Here's another little tip I got from Columbo episodes. Always look for inconsistencies. In this episode, Bill from The Greatest American Hero is the killer. He bashes Sam's buddy Al from Quantum Leap in the dome with a major hunk of ice, which, that's cold. Take the nasty plunge. Gross. I think I can see Al's brain floating in the pool. Wait, let's back up a bit. Bill sets this alibi up for himself by calling Al from a payphone on his way to kill him. Bill knew the phone was tapped because of corporate espionage, so he uses a little portable radio to make it sound over the phone like he's actually across town, sitting in his big fancy pants luxury box, watching his team at the sportscapades. What an intricate scheme. The police will have a recording of the alibi thanks to the wiretap. The murder weapon melted already. Al's in the pool floating like ivory soap. Everyone's gonna think he drowned. There's no way he's getting caught. He gets caught. Columbo listened to that recorded phone call on repeat, trying to find some sound that shouldn't be there. Then it hits him. Maybe there's a sound that should be there, but isn't.
What kind of sound? Oh, shh.
When you think someone is lying to you, gaslighting you, finding inconsistencies in their story usually ain't as satisfying as solving a murder. But seldom are their lies quite so meticulously planned either. I was in this fight with this man because he'd shown up late. It was kind of a big deal. He disrupted my whole weekend. You can blame this man's lateness for me not putting out a video that week. So you can blame him. So now I need to know why this man is so cavalier with my time. And he better have a good explanation.
Well, I make these small observations. I can't help them.
I've got my Columbo shoes on, and I'm in no mood for false testimony. Well, I was late because I had car trouble. Oh, I had to get an Uber to get here. Car trouble, you know. You could have called. I messaged you a number of times, and I didn't get any response. Oh, my phone wasn't working. So your phone doesn't work, but you called an Uber. If I'd have cross-examined that witness, I would have destroyed him. Here's a question that's been on everybody's mind. What is the deal with this channel anyway? What is it all about? I mean, the topic is always something different, and you make a part one of something and then just goes nowhere. You don't honestly think you're going to make any money off of this, do you? Aren't you going to get on a regular schedule and then maybe try to do a Patreon or do something to promote the videos? I mean, what are you even thinking? Well, that's a pretty good question, isn't it? Look, here's the thing. I make these videos because I enjoy it. I like to write things, I like to tell stories, I like to make visual art. It's my hobby. It's like people say, if you do your hobby for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. That is hogwash. No, if you turn your hobby into your job, you just ruin your hobby. Don't get me wrong, it would be really convenient to get to work from home. But I'm just not really sure I can handle all the pressure of interacting with people, regularly putting out videos. Like, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but in a way I don't even really care if
Keep watching the videos,
or
please.
not. When you see I put a new video out, that's me saying, that's pretty good. People might enjoy that. So I do want people to watch the videos and enjoy them. But whatever the final number is, I mean, it's fine. I do sometimes daydream that, like, well-known YouTubers know who I am, and they watch my videos and they're like, that's okay, that's pretty good. Some people might be entertained by that. But you know what? That's just my need for validation. I don't see what those well-known YouTubers have that I don't have. I could develop a chemical dependency. Another chemical dependency, a severe chemical dependency. Yay, this was fun, right? We'll return to the fishbowl in future videos. Could you do something for me? What you could do is, if you can think of a question for the fishbowl, drop it down in the comments section below. Would you do that for me? See, that's like audience participation. We're building a relationship here, a parasocial relationship, and those are the healthiest relationships of all. And 90% of them have no chance of hoping. Oh, I got that sex lube all over me. Okay, something else.